Today, on this episode of Let's Explore This, we will be in Tonopah, Nevada, specifically to discuss this building, the Tonopah Public Library. Listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1982, it is that document that will be used to cover the bulk of this episode. This small building here, it was at one time the main library, though it is now part of what could be called a small library complex. But let's delve into this library's history. Library complex? Yes, sort of. So let me be clear. If you have ever been to Tonopah, you might know that there are two libraries. Well, sort of. This building here that stands behind the smaller original library is today the main library. It is not the building that will be given the primary focus on this episode. No, that honor goes to the one over here, which is the original historic Tonopah Public Library. So, the Tonopah Public Library, it is significant for its continuous role in the development of the surrounding community, and as one of the best preserved stone buildings dating from the Tonopah boom period. Local builder John J. Hill, he completed the structure in January of 1906. Since that date, the building has had continuous use as a library. What precipitated the beginnings of this little library, however, was the donation in 1901 of approximately 200 volumes by a man, George F. Weeks. The books were donated in memory of Weeks's brother, J. R. Weeks, whose death reportedly resulted in the first funeral in Tonopah. A variety of temporary locations are said to have housed the volumes until a lot was secured here on Central Street in early 1905. Mrs. Grace R. Moore and her daughter, Marjorie Moore Brown, the wife of Hugh Henry Brown, a Tonopah Mining Company attorney. These were the influential people in sponsoring those early fundraising events, such as library socials and lectures, the proceeds of which went to the cost of constructing a building. Furthermore, donations from several prominent residents also supplemented the funds. The building also bears the distinction of being the best preserved example of early stone construction in Tonopah. It is said to remain unmodified, except for an early screen porch infill at the front facade. Still, the library retains its original integrity of design and materials. Although modest in size and in detailing, the library exemplifies the stone craftsmanship typical of this period in Tonopah's architectural development. Architecturally speaking, the Tonopah Public Library, it is a single-story stone structure with a low-pitched, hipped roof. The plan is rectangular, measuring 38 feet long by 28 feet wide. A shed roof does extend from the building, covering the front porch, which in turn is supported by 4 box columns, separated by low frame walls. The front facade features coarse dressed stone, while the rear and side walls are of random ashlar construction. The word library can be found cut into the stone lintel in a tablet format over the front entryway. Overall, stone lintels, and sills can be found at all other window openings. A pair of tall, rectangular, double-hung windows do flank the entry at the front facade. At the side walls, half windows can be found that allow for book shelving inside while still permitting light to enter from above. A stone chimney does project through the eave at the south slope of the roof. Cornerstones can be found at either side of the front facade, reading Erected 1906 and John J. Hill Builder, respectively. Modifications to the building are minor. These include the replacement of the original green shingles with asphalt, the screening in of the front porch, and wood infill at the rail line. These modifications occur without severely altering the character of the building. Although in need of minor maintenance, the Tonopah Public Library to this day remains in sound condition. That may be true for the most part, but there are a couple of things that must be mentioned here. For starters, I am assuming that the rail line may be referring to an original rail that came down the staircase. Possibly the wood infill you see right there. That might be what that is referencing. At least, that's what I am assuming. Still, though, there is this much bigger question. What about the screening in of the porch? As you can see, today in 2025, there appears to be no screening in here. Just look around. You can't find screening anywhere here on this porch. Well, you know what? That is not exactly true. You can find it, or at least remnants of it, if you know where to look. Like right up there. If we just zoom in closer, you can see some remnants of screening there. You can find that over here as well, which is a little bit more intact than what you just saw up there on the other side. There are remnants of screening here, like up in the nooks and crannies, but as far as the rest of the porch, it holds no screening. Sure, it might have at one time, but it no longer has it today in 2025. Now, with that said, yes, a larger library building was eventually constructed nearby that opened at around the turn of the millennium. The smaller one then began to sit vacant for a number of years, until plans were made to reopen it a few years before 2020. Said to be used as a business office and as a research center, it is now a part of the small library complex. As a result, it is still standing and once again in use.